on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Banter. I'm your host, JC. Coming at you from Mold Dunes, the patio, where they make the world famous old fashioned. If you haven't had one, come out and try it. It's so good. On tonight's episode, we're going to be talking to three Houston filmmakers. And they're going to talk about what's going on in the film community, what's worked for them in the past, what hasn't. They're going to give us tips on what to do and what not to do for you aspiring filmmakers, if there's any of you out there. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
All right, guys, thank you. So, Jesus, what film or filmmaker got you motivated to pursue this career?
I would say filmmaker. I would say Christopher Nolan. Yeah, I like I always liked his films, but then when I saw his first film, he did as an independent with no budget. I think it's called I forget what it's called, but it's shot in black
Memento.
and white. No, not Memento. Memento was the second one.
Yeah.
He had one before that, and basically he and a few friends shot it over a period of a year, every weekend, because there wasn't any budget. The actors were all friends and stuff. And it came out pretty, I think it's a really brilliant film, and that kind of, gave me the hope that, I could do this, I could do this without a budget, and still have like amazing film. So, personally, I like, I like intriguing films, films that I watch and then I think about like, that's really wild, but like, so, that's probably one of my, most inspirational filmmakers that kind of that made me want to do this, really. So,
Yeah.
How about yourself?
For me, I was a kid in the 70s.
Yeah.
So Star Wars
awesome.
was a big influence, but it wasn't the reason I decided to do this, surprisingly. I realized I actually had a chance to do this around the time Clerks and Brothers McMullen came out. I mean, you went to watch those and go, that's good. I'm not comparing myself to those guys, but I can do that. I am completely capable of getting some good actors around and directing a film where people are basically just sitting around talking. It's not the most exciting film, but I can do that. It got me excited to do it.
Yeah.
To finally take
But you could do something like that type of topic, nothing and make it into something.
Right.
Which is Clerks, exactly.
It's just it's a day in the life, a slice of life.
Right.
These guys are really funny. It's entertaining. It's not action packed. There's no stars. The big thing was these movies are successful with no stars in them.
Right.
Because when you're working with no money, when I did my first film, Laughing Boy, it was really supposed to be a $5,000 film. Because I had been reading and I attended a presentation by that guy that says $5,000 film. Find a script find a play that you can shoot in one location, and you can do it in a weekend or two. So that's what got me started to putting my first film together. I found a play that my friend George Lee wrote called Laughing Boy, and took it off the stage, put it in a house. Over 2 weekends, we shot this film almost 20 years ago, and I'm still pushing it. 20 years later,
it's good.
I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
And it didn't make any money for the longest time, and now that there's so many streaming sites, it's like I'm pushing everything that's old because those people haven't seen it yet.
Exactly. Yeah.
Juan, what about you? What got you started?
I think I just kind of had the knack, man. My gift was writing, and from the writing, I just realized if I was a producer, I could make my own writing happen.
Yeah.
As far as films, I think Taxi Driver was the one where I was just like, yeah, really.
I love that.
Like that. And then I saw the documentary on how they made it. How guerrilla it was. And Scorsese's just, to me, he's the master of drama. So I do a lot of dramas, dark comedies, written some comedy scripts, but as far as the film that really inspired me to realize, hey, I want to be a filmmaker was that one. So I know the first film in high school, did another one in college, and then I made my first film here in Houston, Texas. 2005, we started casting and went into production 2007.
Yeah.
And that's the one that Danny Trejo in it.
Right.
Used your agency for extras.
Yeah, when you don't have any money, things take longer.
Oh yeah, definitely. that script, I wrote that script in 2001. It took me 5 years to get the money to make that.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, and it's after my first film, I started working on other. There was a wave of TV movies that were filmed in Houston in the early 2000s, and what I learned from there was when you have money, everyone gets a month to prep, and then you start. But because you have department heads, a lot's getting done. Your job is the art department. That's all you have to worry about. Your job is casting.
When you show up to the set, you're confident that all that stuff's ready. That's the best way.
Yeah. But when you have a budget, the whole process is condensed because you can hire people to take care of every different department.
Yeah, and so as a director, you got to be the general. You got to be able to put people in positions that they're gonna get the job done, and you're confident when you show up to the set, you're not gonna have any issues. And and sometimes you're gonna have issues. You're gonna have to basically know how to think on the fly, and improvise, and the show
keep
has
the
to
ship together.
Yeah, I mean exactly, because one day of missed shooting could cost you $2,000. On a $10,000 budget. What are you going to do now? And so a lot of people they make one film and they don't get success, and they say, I'm done. And the reality is your first film, you should expect to be trial and error, and if you expect to make money off your first film, you're going to be in a world of hurt. And you got to be in it for the long run.
It happens.
Yeah.
People can make money off their first film, but it's rare.
Very rare.
If someone gives you money,
and
do not promise them an income.
Well, not just that. It's like you said, it's over time, how you're still pushing your first film.
Yeah.
My first film was Netflix, Walmart, Hollywood Video. I made more money selling films out of the trunk than I did at Walmart.
Right.
Right.
My first film, Laughing Boy, got on Netflix when they were still mailing DVDs.
Yeah.
They bought Netflix. Well, I was working with a distributor. It was actually technically a sub-distributor, where they didn't have.
What was the company name?
Proactive.
I don't remember that.
The Proactive was a company that a distributor would hire, and I just happened to find them.
They're basically an
chance.
aggregate.
Not. I guess at the time I didn't know what that word meant. They called themselves a sub-distributor because I didn't sign any rights over to them. I still own the product.
For putting you on the shelves.
They did, but I sent them some product. And I didn't have to send them any more product until they actually wrote me a check. So I did get money from them. They'd sell 50 DVDs. They'd say, "Here's your check. Send us more." Unlike a distributor that would make the DVDs themselves.
Right, yeah. My deal was with a direct distributor. They made all the DVDs. I remember it was so cool flying out to California and going to the factory and grabbing DVDs off the shelf.
Right. Yeah.
So that was back in the Blockbuster Hollywood Video days.
Yeah, you brought up something that made me think of something. And a lot of times filmmakers on their first film don't have enough money to pay a fair wage,
Right.
a good wage, if any at all.
Right.
I know on my first film, I asked a bunch of people to work for me for deferred pay,
yeah.
which I never.
Deferred means free. So deferred means free.
Deferred means free. It technically means you're going to pay them when your film makes
Whenever
money,
the film
but
makes
they never
money,
make money.
but
I would, you know what? Real quick, I'm going to address that. I made a film called Dead of Night and asked people to work for deferred pay.
Yeah.
I actually paid them some money.
Yeah.
Conjoined, another film I did.
I actually
pay.
remember
I actually paid them some money.
The name of the film now, The Following, is what it's called, The Following. It's black and white. Christopher Nolan, he's the director, he's the screenwriter, he's the cinematographer. He's holding the camera, he's doing all that, And it's the same thing, like Robert Rodriguez with El Mariachi. It's like, you could do, you have to wear, when you don't have the money, and you have to wear like a bunch more hats than you're willing to wear. You have to learn to wear like all those other hats. Fine, if you have a budget, fine, delegate all that stuff. But you just got to learn how to make it work with what you got. And the thing, one of my instructors in film school, he says there's the triangle, and on each side of the triangle there's money, time, and the quality. So you have to sacrifice one for the other.
Yeah, it's.
Oh, and time. So it's like money, time, and so if you sacrifice the time, if you don't have the money, with time you can still get quality.
Right.
But then if you want to get it fast, but you don't have the time, you need to throw a lot of money.
It's like pick two.
So you got to pick.
two.
You got to pick two. You can have a fast film and a crappy film.
Good, fast, and cheap. Pick two.
So you got to pick one. Yeah. So it's a triangle. So that concept is, and I tell a lot of my peers that make it, don't be afraid to take all the time that you need. Because guess what? Once the movie's done, it's done, and then you're stuck with that forever, like for life. So put in all that, put in the work, take the time, make sure you're doing something that you're going to be proud of.
I agree with you to a point. I think the downside of taking your time is in post, great, take all the time you want. But, and I'm guilty of this myself and paid the price for it. When you take your time shooting, your cast loses interest very fast.
As a director, I hate, I don't want to use the word hate, but like production is, I want to get done with production. It's like, I do not, I don't want to get, the blood pressure. I'm too young for that stress.
It's a lot, man.
So once I get to production, I want to get it done and out. So the most important thing, that pre-production, take all the time you need for pre-production, because that makes production go along a lot smoother.
Pre-production, take your sweet time.
Take your sweet time with pre-production, and then because I'm trying to get production out the way, because I cannot deal with that, and all that, especially when you're working on a no budget thing and stuff keeps happening, stuff keeps going wrong. It's like I don't want to deal with that. So take your time with pre-production, take your time with post-production.
And I say one of my films, we were in production on and off for 16 months. And the cast,
you lose momentum.
You lose momentum, and the cast, they just lose interest so fast. Right. It's like, oh, I got to come back and do this. Yeah, come on. And haircuts change.
And the crew loses, loses.
Interest. What crew?
At that point, it's like you have to, I don't know, but yeah.
But Juan, you brought up a point about people making their first film, and it's not what they thought it was cracked up to be. And this is what I got out of what you said. And they don't do it again.
Exactly.
Those are the people I no longer want to help.
Right.
Because I've helped, in the 25 years I've been doing this in Houston, I've helped so many filmmakers for free just because I love the process and I love helping people. I want to see you grow. Hopefully you'll help me grow.
Committed to the craft and actually, help build this foundation.
Yeah, and you hope you build a foundation and a relationship, and you'll help each other as the years go by. But when you work for deferred pay for a filmmaker who decides they don't want to do it anymore, and they just sometimes they don't even finish the film. I've wasted my time. Hopefully, I've made other connections on their sets, which fortunately in most cases I have. But it's still really aggravating that you put all that time in another filmmaker's project and there's nothing to show for it.
I had only one of those projects here in Houston, and I won't even mention the name of the project, but I've done 7 overall. One of them I made the most money on is one I don't talk about, and they got distribution and everything. So it's just like, it's as long as you're committed to making films, and in the process of helping other filmmakers, you're going to be fine. But I've had that experience where, this guy, he invested a lot of money in the film, made a lot of rookie mistakes, didn't want to take advice. After a while, like I had actually produced movies, was distributed all the way up to Netflix. But this person, they were their profession was a doctor. They had money. They wanted to make a movie, and I was happy to get paid to help them make a movie.
That sounds like a couple of projects I've heard.
Yeah, but
I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer. I'm going to put all this money into it, but do it my way. And I have no experience, but it's my way.
Yeah, and I feel like with that's the thing. Like a lot of people, first off, no experience, and they have this expectation and this grand. They think the first project is going to be nice. They have this big idea, and they want to do. My solution to that, I say, do a lot of shorts first. You're going to do a bunch of crappy shorts, and then eventually
if you're not confident to handle the investment of making a film, because it's an investment, it's going to change your life to really make a real film.
And if you have money to hire professionals, listen to them.
I would say this,
that's true too. My first film, even though I was a rookie director, my cinematographer was Larry McGee. I had eventually got great producers. I got Noel G from Training Day, Fast and the Furious. And I had met Noel back in 2001, right after Training Day. Showed him the script to Through the Valley, and he was like, I want to play a part in it. Fast forward 6 years, I run into him again. We're already in production for the movie, and I write him in just because he's like, let's do it.
Right.
You know, and then from getting him on board, he then got Samantha Esteban, Saved by the Bell, Training Day, Harsh Times. And, you know, she was a great actress. She came out and played a role, and then, you know, and then of course Danny Trejo. And just having that list of people. I mean, we sold more movies out of the trunk than probably any other filmmaker in history.
Right.
I mean, we reordered DVD copies, and you know, I just had a team on the street selling the DVDs back when you could sell DVDs for $20 a piece.
Right.
You know, so I made way more money that way versus waiting for a Walmart check.
Yeah.
You know, with where do you have me in placement and what stores am I in? And, you know,
I've never sold DVDs on the street, but I really believe in that concept.
Well,
I think a lot of filmmakers aren't willing to go that route.
Well, you know, you can't do that. You can't duplicate that time period again.
Right.
But that time period, it was possible.
Yeah.
You know, right now, I wouldn't recommend that like, as a marketing plan for anybody.
Yeah.
But you know, if you can create a buzz with streaming, and you know, like with Trap Plane right now, we're planning on just having just a great promotional kick to make people want to buy the streaming and know where it's at. And like, that's the best you can do, really, right now with streaming.
Yeah, you gotta sell it. You gotta sell it, and then, you know, if it's really good, that word of mouth is gonna do the rest of the work for you. But as far as that trunk concept, because I come from like a music background, you know, I did like music before I went into film. That was the thing. You so from the, because that way you keep 100% of your profit.
Exactly.
And you know, you make more. I mean, you got to put in the work for it, you know, to get it going. But then, you know, once you put in the work, you know, you can keep all your money. It's the way to go. But what we're talking about, as you know, with the first film things, you know, I feel like the way to do that, if you have a project, maybe your first project, or if you have a project that you really, really like and you're really in love with that project, I would say don't produce that first. You know, keep that. Go ahead and make some.
If you don't have the budget to do a project right, don't sacrifice the project.
Yeah.
You know, because certain things can be done low budget. Like as a filmmaker, okay, there's times I have 3 movie scripts that I have not produced yet that I'm sitting on because I don't have $10 million budget yet.
Right.
So meanwhile, you know, I did something like Trap Plane. You know, Trap Plane we did with $15,000.
Right.
6 web series between 6 to 10 minutes. We shot it. I came up with the idea November of 2015. By November 2016, well, you know, you auditioned for it. November 2016, we won Best Drama NYC Web Fest. So within 1 year, you can make an impact and really elevate yourself in the film business.
Right.
That's the beauty of the web series and the new short format.
And then I feel like that you can't trade that experience too that you get, you know, from. I was listening to this podcast with a screenwriter. He was talking about when you write your first script, when you write, you both write, right? So when you write, you know how it goes. You write the first draft, then you write the second draft, and you keep rewriting. So he says, when you write the first draft, just put it to the side. When you write the first draft, put it to the side. Write a different script, put it to the side. Write a third one, and by the time you're done with the third script, you're a better writer. So when you go back to that first draft, you know it's going to be a lot better. You know that revision is going to be a lot better than if you went straight into it. And I feel it's the same thing when you make films. A lot of people they have this. A lot of inexperienced people, you know, aspiring filmmakers, they have this idea they go straight to the feature or like straight to this project that, you know, and it really doesn't do them. Even Robert Rodriguez, he says, I made a bunch of shorts, and I made a lot of crappy short films, but then I got all the crap out of the way, and then I started making features, and I actually started making film. And I feel that's the approach that I kind of want to go by, because I feel like by that time, you know, you've done a bunch of shorts. You get familiar with how sets are. You know, you're a more experienced filmmaker by the time. So that one genius project that you have, put it to the side and don't just dive into it.
Don't waste it.
You know, that's just my opinion, though. I don't know if you guys.
No, I agree. I think new filmmakers should do some shorts because it's a great opportunity to get experience, try new things without risking a big budget or people's time.
Right.
If you got an idea, you say, you know, you can write a short around a new technique you want to use or learn.
Right.
So you don't ruin a feature by making a mistake with that technique. Ruin the short.
Right.
You know.
Or if you have a budget, make your idea fit the budget, and then push the boundaries. You know, stretch the riverbed. Call in all those favors. That's what I do.
Well, with technology now, you can do so much we couldn't do 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
You can do that science fiction movie now.
Yeah.
You can,
Exactly.
you know, someone that does
Yeah.
After Effects well, suddenly you can put spacecraft in your film.
You remember the Canon XL?
Yeah. I shot a film on the
You just brought up a point. You see, the same concept that I was talking about when what's his name, James Cameron with the Avatar movie. He said he had that for like a bunch of years, right?
Yeah.
Before he finally made it, because the technology wasn't right. So he could have made that movie in the '90s, and
he made The Abyss in the '80s.
right.
So he was starting. The
so
process.
you know, and he had that idea, but he kept that idea till it was the right time for it. So,
Yeah.
you know, personally, I don't have a lot of money. I feel like time is the only thing that you know that I can afford to like spend. And I would say, you know, spend that time and perfect your project or your craft or your script or whatever it is, and that way when you put it out, because I feel like once it's out, once it's done and it's out, and you gotta live with that for the rest of your life. And it's like you want to make a movie that you're proud of. So.
Yeah, but also it's something I need to remember.
Yeah.
Personally, I think now I really believe finished is better than perfect.
Yeah. True.
You know, because I've struggled with trying to make my films perfect.
The worst
when I
thing
had
that
no
can
money.
happen to you is not finish a film.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that
the
is.
worst thing that can
Yeah,
happen. If you start a project and don't finish it, it's. I mean, I don't want to use bad terms. I'm just going to tell you, it's like you've lost a piece of yourself.
Right.
Especially if you lose momentum like crazy.
And you lose respect from no one.
You
You
lose
lose
respect
community.
from the
You're
community.
you're the guy that
Yeah.
can't finish a
You're the-
film.
Well, I feel like some people get scared because they say it's not turning out the way they imagine, and then they just abandon
It never
shit.
does.
And,
That's
and
true,
I'm
you're
like,
right.
it's you know, sometimes you just finish it for what it is and just move on.
You know what, Jesus,
Yeah.
you know, you got to stick to the script.
Right.
You wrote the script, you believed in the script. I mean, like you said, how many years? 20 years later. I mean, my first film's now 10 years later. I just did a
Right.
documentary on the first film because of the impact it made because of the script. So you get, you know, there was days, you know, things are going to happen, like you said, but
Right.
you got to stick to the script.
You got it, yeah.
And one of the delays that my films have experienced is I want them to be perfect. So Dead of Night, that's Night with a K. It could have been released like 3 years before it was, but I was just so hell bent on it being perfect.
I got
and
Murder Book, bro. 2015. I shot
Yeah.
that in 2015. I haven't released it yet.
Well, here's Dead of Night has some technical issues in it, and I was like, I can't release this.
Right.
I'm going to get laughed at. People. It looks amateur.
I guess that there's a fine
And here's the
line,
thing. Now that it's been out 5 years, no one has ever said a thing about what I was worried about. Not a single person.
Did you see the boom?
No, it wasn't that. It's like a couple of effect shots didn't look right
Yeah,
on screen.
but
it's when-
see, that's the thing. Even movies come out of Hollywood with imperfections.
Yeah.
The thing is, once people get into the story, they're not looking at all that stuff.
No,
as long as
if your actors are good and the writing's
as long
good,
as the film does what it's
yeah.
supposed to do, I could
It's
start. I
like
could
that
pull out
stain on
any
your shirt
movie.
that nobody sees.
Right.
Except for you.
I could pull out any movie and start pointing out, like errors and like mistakes, but not. But when you watch the movie, you get into the whole experience and you don't see all that stuff.
I was watching Step Brothers the other night on Comedy Central. You're familiar with it?
Yeah.
Will Ferrell, John
Right,
C.
yeah.
Reilly. And there's a scene in
They're
the
like the
playground.
trust fund babies,
Yeah.
they're brothers.
They're like the 39 and 40-year-old
Still living at home, waiting to.
Well, I was watching. I'd seen it a couple of times by now at this point, and I'm watching it again, and the playground scene comes up where the adults are walking down the street and all the 8th graders are picking on them.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm watching going, wait a minute, that is a huge continuity error.
Right.
When the two kids are walking up and it cuts away, and then it cuts back and they've switched sides.
But it's such a dumb
But
movie
it's-
that you don't care.
You don't care,
care,
about
but
it. Did the movie do the job that it make you laugh?
never get
That's not my point, but it is kind of my point. But my point is, if there's mistakes that big at that level, my mistake. Just let it go.
Yeah.
And that's my lesson. The thing I need to learn is to just let it go.
And then the same thing, because people sometimes people do that about plot holes too. I'm like, dude, movies are always gonna have plot holes. Movies from Hollywood, some of the best movies have plot holes.
Every movie has a plot hole.
But does it do what it's supposed to do? Did you understand? Did you get the experience that you were supposed to get out of that movie?
But I did a test screening with my first film, Through the Valley, and this movie has temporal disorder. It's out of sequence. Starts 7 months before, and it goes back and forth. And at the first screening, one of the people came up after me and caught something in the plot, and I just like, you know, I was just like, wow, you know, I didn't catch that. Like, what?
Right.
You know?
One of my lessons I tried to teach myself. I made a movie called Conjoined. I don't know if you've heard about it, but did it in 2013.
Okay.
$1,850. But my approach was, I'm not going to worry about the mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm going to make this. If I make mistakes, I'm going to embrace them and make them part of the fun. To try to make this drive-in style.
Yeah,
movie.
you make the mistakes part of the movie.
Yeah, if I make a mistake, we keep it, and just I don't sweat it, because the old me would have just got.
It was kind of like
reshoot that. Everyone come back and reshoot it.
Be Kind, Rewind. Remember Jack Black and Mos Def when they did that movie? Be Kind. It's a video store.
Yes,
where, you know, where they all the old VHS are gone, so they're remaking them.
Right.
You know, and so why? How can you have a problem with the mistakes you're making?
And then that became a big hit.
Yeah.
If you
the fake movies became big hits.
Yep.
Speaking of mistakes, if you watch the original Jurassic Park, there's the scene where they run in the kitchen, the little kids, and the Velociraptor comes in the door. Or something you can see. You know, back then they didn't have, like, I don't know. I think it was like Animatrix.
It was a big CG movie, but they still had
animatronic
dinosaurs.
Yeah. So you can see like the thing, it's coming in the kitchen, but it's wobbling and shit. And then its hand comes out of nowhere, and it like holds it steady because it's about to fall.
I've never seen it.
And it's in the movie. It's still there. Like
and now I gotta watch it.
Now I feel like if it was George Lucas, he would have done a re-edit and taken that part out. But it's still there.
But Spielberg knows how to let go.
If you watch, it's there. So if you that's Spielberg, one of the greatest directors ever. And he has, you know.
But you're engaged.
Well, watch Jaws now.
That doesn't make the movie any less great. You know, it's still a great movie. It's an awesome movie. There's errors in there, but it's still an awesome movie.
Every movie has errors. There's one.
So you can't get caught up on the.
There's a Nicole Kidman movie. I think it's called The Interrogator, where having a conversation with another character, and her bangs are like in 4 different positions. As she cut away, her hair changes so much. It really took me. I noticed it the first time I watched it, and it took me out. But a movie of that level, you just accepted that mistake and released it, and it still made millions of dollars.
When you're directing actors, how far do you let them improv? You know, for me, if I feel they're having a magic moment, I let them go.
Yeah.
If I feel we're getting off task and they're getting off script, I stop them. But like, have you ever seen Warriors? Warriors come out and play. That was improv, and that's sampled so many times. But, you know, it really was the bookmark end of the movie. Was that little part, you know? And that was all improv, you know. So as a director, do you stop them? Say, wait a minute, you know. Sometimes you just gotta let them go. Like Triplane, I let some actors go, and I got some great things. And sometimes,
you know, I agree with you. If it fits, let them work.
Yeah.
But not all actors can improvise, so you gotta if it goes off track, you gotta be able to stop it.
Some have the experience where, you know, something magic.
Especially when you're working with an experienced actor. Actors love me because I bring them in. They're a process of the, you know. Sometimes we slightly rewrite characters because of that. I bring them in. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But like, I'm really free with actors.
I want the actors to respect the script. I was on a panel a few years ago at a film festival with another actor, and that question came up. As an actor, how do you approach the script? And the actor that was next to me said, I just basically do whatever. Basically said he does whatever he wants. He creates the character and just uses the script as a guide. And I said, well, as a director, I want you to respect the script. A writer may have sweated, meticulously put each word in place. Do what's written, then let's work out something else. But
if you don't know the script, do not think you can improv.
Right.
You have to know the director. May I improvise? May I change this?
Usually we talk about it. Like an actor would be like, oh, I think like I should say this instead of this, like the actual line that's on the script.
Sure.
And then he explains why, because when you read a script, everybody's imagination is different. And the way I see a character might be slightly different from how the actor
Don't just do it.
So don't just do it. Yeah, so fine, I'm the director, I have a vision. But, you know, let's see what your vision is. Let's see if that works. And sometimes I'll be like, all right, let's try that. And I'll be like, you know what, nah, I don't like that. I like the other idea better.
Right.
You know, and sometimes you might say that, but when you get to the cutting room, it all changes, and you're like, you know what, actually his take, actually looks better and fits like.
Right. When you're on a bigger budget film, everybody is following a script. Right. You got your sound guy is following a script. Your continuity person's following a script. If the actor just wants to improvise on their own without saying anything,
throw everything off.
No one's expecting it. Everyone gets confused.
But they do that all the time though. As professional actors, you should go with it, with whatever. Because like if you're working with, I hear about this all the time in Hollywood. Like people just throw stuff in there, and everybody just went with it, and it became something. But
and it's if you're dealing with
but they're professionals. If I have Morgan Freeman on my thing, like he could do what the fuck.
You're right at that level.
At that level, like because you trust them, because they're experienced well enough to.
But if you're an unknown actor, don't do it.
I've yelled at actors on the set. And he goes, "Hey, Mr. Director, you got anything else for me?" And I'm just like, "No, Danny, you're doing great. Just keep doing what you're doing, Danny." I'm not, it's how you tell Danny Trejo what to do,
right?
But it was awesome working with him. And, he actually told another actor a suggestion that I rolled with and we went with, and it was a line the actor was having a hard time saying it in English, and he told him to say it in Spanish. And then so the actor said it in Spanish, and I made it so much better and seemed better. And sometimes you just got to let actors feel it, and it's great suggestions come out.
But it was discussed first.
It was discussed first, yeah.
I'm all.
And sometimes, because like most of the times I'm a writer director, and like for example, in my last short, in the writing process, I would communicate with the lead sometimes about the character, and we would communicate like while I was still in the writing process. So that way, I kind of brought him early on, which was a thing that I did deliberately. So that way, when it got time for production, he already knew the character. So while I was writing it, we would talk, we would have meetings, I would explain, and we would share ideas. And he already knew the character before the script was done, like really. And so by the time the script is done, he already knows how to play the character.
Yeah.
And that's important. If the lead actor does not know the character and comes to the set, you're doomed. I mean, picking the lead actor is part of the talent of being a director. I mean, you guys do your own casting, I do my own casting.
Right.
Or I have a part in the casting.
That's part of his job.
I actually used Joe. Before I met him, I reached out to him on my first trip through the valley and got about 40 X. I think all my jurors in Through the Valley were from your company, so I'm very familiar with that. And but I had to trust him on the extras. But speaking roles and main actors, I'm involved in this process. Back in the days, actors, etc., you used to be able to go in there, and they were a talent agency where you could literally pick out the pictures of the actors you wanted. It was the infrastructure in Houston, after the oil and gas boom, really set the mark for why there's still filmmaking going on here. Houston has a tradition of filmmaking. And Joe, he was here before I was, and so when I reached out to him, he sent me a bunch of talent. And Through the Valley was a film that kind of was a benchmark in Houston, I think, for any film shot that budget to go that far as far as distribution, and just have the legacy that we met with so many filmmakers coming after that from that project. Indirectly. But,
let's talk about your film for a second. You got on Netflix. Did you have anything to do with that, or is that strictly your distributor?
That was my distributor. I went to this convention in Las Vegas at the time. It was the biggest convention.
VSDA?
The one, it was the independent video stores. Because at that time,
right? I'm familiar with that convention.
Yeah. So
there's the VSDA. I don't know if that's still around, but that was Video Software Dealers Association.
No, it wasn't that one.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know which one you're talking about too.
So we go to Vegas. John Favaro is there. He just done. Was it fucking Iron Man?
Swingers.
No, it was already past that. He directed it was right before Iron Man came out. That's what he directed Iron Man. So that was his breakthrough, project.
Elf. He did Elf.
Yeah, come on.
But that Elf is big.
Iron Man.
Elf is big. Dude, Iron Man is big, but
Swingers made him a household name. But directing Iron Man made him an industry.
Don't poo-poo Elf. How important that movie was, because that helped him get Iron Man. You don't just get Iron Man.
Yeah.
Elf is a huge hit.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I went to that convention, and that's where I met this distribution company that I trusted. They had distributed the Kirk Cameron series Left Behind,
right?
Which was through Sony. So they were basically a Sony affiliate. So that's what my deal was through. And then we were everywhere. It was awesome. I mean, it was that exposure at that time. I mean, it was great.
Okay, now let's be real for a second. It's incredibly impressive that all that happened. I'm jealous. I want that to happen for me. Let's talk about the reality of it. Did you see any money from that?
I saw more money from selling the movie directly. We shot the movie in Houston at that time. People bought DVDs back in at that time. It was 2008, 2009. It was really the end. I mean, you had Blu-ray coming in, but people were still buying DVDs. And this is right when Redbox was coming out. Redbox was part of what put Blockbuster out of business and Hollywood Video out of business. And I was the #1 rento at Hollywood Video. And I was smart enough to put in the contract that if the company declared bankruptcy or didn't pay me, that I retained all my rights. And sure enough, that's what happened. 2009, we had the economic collapse, which put Blockbuster out of business, put Hollywood Video out of business. You had the rise of Netflix. I was on Netflix at that time. It was the DVD distribution, so I was on Netflix with that, and the reality was I got great exposure, but I made a lot of money by maintaining those rights and having the printing. I mean, I wish I had brought a DVD here to show you, but the artwork. Sanjay Patel did the artwork.
Right.
Danny Trejo's on the cover, and then it was shot in Houston. And at that time, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be real. I'll be right back real with you, man. People don't support Houston filmmakers anymore. At that time, it was an awesome time, man. Yeah. I mean, everybody was supporting it. You couldn't go anywhere in Houston without knowing about that movie. I mean, people were selling it everywhere. And I had just teams on the streets selling 20 copies at a time, $20, re-upping, bam, and it was literally like rappers were doing with CDs.
I call it the MC Hammer thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
MC Hammer that's going to sell tapes out of his car. But let's go back to the Netflix deal and your distributor. Did your distributor ever write you a check? I mean,
no.
I'm just because I've never.
No,
I know a lot of people who don't get the
bankruptcy,
money.
and this is why it's important. The devil's in the detail. How would you think a guy who distributed the Kirk Cameron films and those Left Behind movies made over $100 million? Where do you see these guys going bankrupt? But you had to put it in the contract. If you did go bankrupt or you don't pay me on time, I get all my rights back. And thank God I did that, because that film at that time was distributed on DVD, which is standard definition. But we were some of the pioneers. I mean, we shot part of that movie with the Red Cam. I'm the first filmmaker to shoot a film with the Red Cam, and also the Panasonic H2, the P2. We're the first ones to use that technology. And by doing that and staying ahead of the curve, that movie is now still relevant. 10 years later, it's about to be released as the 10-year anniversary remastered in HD. And I own 100% of those rights. So, that's going to now go on Amazon Prime, Hulu's looking at it, Netflix, and it's circulating again.
Yeah, don't give up on your old films,
right?
Because you never know when it's going to become relevant again.
Right.
So many filmmakers I know,
or you never know.
They get a Redbox deal. They get in Walmart deal. I heard is horrible. And there's no direct Walmart deal.
So your distributor has let
me finish my thought, and you can tell me if what I was told is true or not, because you probably have the experience. The Walmart deal is that they can return the product they don't sell anytime they want.
Yes and no.
Okay.
There's two types of deals with Walmart. That deal is what most have.
We're talking about physical media.
Yeah, physical DVDs, Blu-rays on the shelves. I mean, do they still sell DVDs on the shelves?
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
They still buy them too.
So the Blu-rays.
Walmart held on to VHS for a really long time because their customers still bought them.
Super packs cannot be returned. That's the catch. If you're in the super packs, when there's like the 5 of them, 3 of them, the 5. That's why horror movies make so much money.
The 8 movies on
because
a disc.
the 8 movies on a disc they cannot return.
So Walmart cannot return those. Okay. Because I know a filmmaker who got a Walmart deal, and I see other filmmakers bragging on Facebook about their film being at Walmart.
I mean,
and his film, Walmart returned I think he said they bought 100,000, they returned 90,000, and he was on the hook for the cost.
Right.
Because
but if that had happened to me, that would have been great for me, because I had a street TV. We were selling it like crazy.
And he ended up doing that. He sold some of that to get some of that money back. But be careful of that Walmart deal because your distributor
let's
would be
just say
stuck
this,
with
man.
the bill and then falls back on you.
The Walmart deal sucks, man. There's no money in Walmart anymore for filmmakers. I mean, real talk. It's just nice to say, hey, my movie's at Walmart. There's no money in it for you.
Yeah, sometimes you sacrifice that for the exposure.
Yeah,
it's like the same thing.
I guess it legitimizes you as a filmmaker to have your movie at Walmart, but as a businessman, you really got. I mean, I guess long term you make money off it because it helps build you up to say, hey, I'm at Walmart. But if you think you're going to make a bunch of money at Walmart, you're going to be disappointed, big time. If you think you're going to be the next Friday,
it's
everybody has that movie and they're breaking down their blunts on it, smoking it, and you're the next guy. I mean, you might be that Blair Witch that gets picked up by a Spielberg and does it, but I think you should do with what your heart tells you to do with your first film, and don't worry about making money. Make it what you want to make it. And like Joe said, if you love that film, you're gonna put your heart into it, and it's gonna be something that stand the test of time, like yours. 20 years, right? And it's on Netflix again.
It's not on Netflix again. It's on Amazon Prime. I got everything.
Okay.
I was going to hire an aggregate, pay that money to put it on Prime, and then suddenly one day Amazon made it available to us.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute, I can
awesome.
put everything on here now, and they actually make money. I actually get money every month.
So do you put yours on Prime directly, or do you use an aggregator?
I did it Prime myself.
Okay.
So I can every day I can go look at what happened the past 12 weeks.
Cool.
And I see update every day how much money I've made that month.
Yeah.
And now the great thing about it is, I know when I make a marketing effort, I can see the results.
Right.
If I want to spend time to push it, if I want to pay for Facebook ads, I can look at the results and see that worked. Versus a distributor putting out there and me putting all that effort
and back in
promoting
the
it
day,
and not
the
getting any
distributors,
money.
if you distributed a DVD, they would take $10,000 off the top.
Right.
Just
25.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And they're renting Lamborghinis and doing all this stuff on your promotional money because they're in Miami, at some conference, not selling your movie, and that was the reality of the film business back in the day. So the upside to where we're at with streaming is that you have full control of your product. The downside is you don't have as much retail space where people will have the impulse buy of your film, put in front of them. Like, how it was. Remember how cool it was to have the DVD copy?
Yeah.
That stuff's really not important anymore.
It's the same thing. It's similar to what happened in like the music industry. It's like, fine, you could have, and it's the same thing. I have music on like those platforms on iTunes and all that, but I made way more money selling my actual CDs.
Yeah.
So it's but you have to kind of, because you could reach, because like I can't sell my CD to somebody in New York all the way from, it's easier for them to go and they're like, oh, he's on iTunes, he must be legit. So sometimes, I don't know, I feel like sometimes, especially if you're starting out, you might want to sacrifice some of that profit for exposure.
No, the exposure, the exposure is great, and it could land you another job.
Right.
Yes.
So,
I want to put this out there since we're talking about basically the death of physical media. There is still a collector market out there.
Absolutely.
And especially for horror films. If you're making a horror film, try to keep the rights when you get a distributor, or at least say, give me the permission to make 1,000, because you can still sell them, like maybe not on the street, but there's conventions, there's comic book shows.
Right.
You can still sell directly to the fans.
I think you should keep your rights no matter what. With the new format of distribution, if you're not keeping your rights, you're an idiot. You're going to give away a distributional fee for the right distributor, or you can go 100% independent like Joe. But there's got to be some benefit to that distributor that you pick. Because if they're taking 20%, what are they doing for you for that 20%? And that's what you got to really look at the end of the day. Is you got to quantify the results you're going to get from working with that person. If you stay independent, you're investing all your own money into that marketing. Yeah. So if somebody's taking a percentage from you, what kind of marketing are they doing for you, and what is their plan to get your film in front of more eyeballs, so people are going to get more downloads? Because now that's the whole game. And with Amazon, you're getting paid by how many people watch that per hour. It's like per hour, right?
6 cents per hour.
Per hour.
That's Prime.
So
you can still rent, and you get
and
half
that's
the money.
taken over now from YouTube. YouTube's going to be dead with any real filmmaker.
I want to bring, YouTube is interesting. I put 2 of my horror films on a YouTube channel called Kings of Horror. They were at AFM and they've learned about my films, and I was hesitant because of YouTube. It's YouTube.
Right.
It's not like we joked about earlier. It's not a guy falling off a ladder. It's not a cat video. That people can pirate the movie. So I hesitantly gave them Kings of Horror, my films, and for their marketing expense was $400. The films had to make $400 before they shared the ad revenue with me.
Sure.
Well, it's only been 2 years, and we're 71 cents away from that as of last month. When the YouTube algorithm changed and they were taking ads off of everyone's videos, I think they took a hit, because for several months the films, I was getting reports saying Conjoined made 20 cents, Dead of Night made 37 cents, but had thousands of views. Suddenly, 2 months ago, Dead of Night's back up to $25 a month. There's no nudity in that film, and it's not graphic, so they put ads back on it. YouTube said, okay, it's approved for ads. Conjoined is still doing 20 cents. But my point is, this next month, I should start actually getting money from YouTube for the film.
So how's that comparison to your Amazon revenue?
Amazon, Dead of Night by itself is probably going to be making more than all the films combined on Amazon Prime.
Where's that at?
We're at $25 on a good month now.
Okay.
For everything combined on Amazon Prime. I don't have the star power that your films do.
But doesn't YouTube also have a service where you could like directly rent it?
They have Red.
Yeah, I don't know how. I was going towards that.
Yeah, I think they
earlier
have a
this year.
platform for that, yeah.
I hit 1,000 subscribers, but I fell short on the hour stream. They upped the hour stream, so I couldn't. And then they took away your individual ability, your ability as an individual filmmaker to put it up for rent.
One time I was so that might be new too, because one time I was like doing some like marketing research and stuff, and that was one platform that I knew you could use, and then you could rent. I think that you could rent it for like $4.
You can still rent. I don't know if I, as the individual, can make it available for rent. That's another reality. My small films, they are generating money, which I'm grateful for. It's not a lot of money.
Right.
But if I can get $25 off Amazon every month, $20 off YouTube,
plus you got a
Pantherflix
catalog.
starts paying.
If you can get your projects up, and I have 5 films that I'm going to be releasing all together, and it's all because my marketing plans are different than other people, and I just want to release the way I want to release. And so I have these 5 films, and then how we're going to release them. I have my own network where I've made more money than what we discussed, and it's my own network, and people are going to it directly. So I've been building that up, and now I'm ready to share some of these philosophies with other filmmakers and hope it works for them as well. And I think Joe is 100% correct. Like, this is the way to do it. Have a plan to maintain your rights and have strategic partners like these different sites to stream the projects on. Pick the ones that are going to promote you the best, like you said with what was that channel?
Kings of Horror.
Kings of Horror. That's what you got to do. And I want to become a Kings of Horror type for my genre of drama and good indie film. Give me any topic, but I'm looking for that next Kevin Smith to work with. I'm looking for that next Robert Rodriguez to work with. The next Juan Vazquez, the next Joe Grisaffi, the next Jesus here. That's what we're trying to do.
Jesus, Houston has a film commission.
Yeah.
You familiar with it?
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
I mean, it's a cool resource for me as an independent, for like new filmmakers, aspiring filmmakers, student filmmakers that's just getting out there. It's a good place to learn about a lot of get a lot of information about filming in Houston and even and in Texas. Basically, you learn about from like a production standpoint, like locations, locations to shoot. You could get a bunch of leads on like locations. You can learn about how to shoot in like public, how to get like set security and all that type of stuff. It's just certain resources that you can get. As far as like on a bigger scale and about bringing movies out to Houston, I'm not too sure, but I know it's a great tool for like independent filmmakers looking for like resources and information about filming in the city.
Right. I want to want to add something to that because I know a lot of independent filmmakers in town get down on the Houston Film Commission because they don't think they do anything for them. The Houston Film Commission's job is to bring big films here that generate income for the city.
Right.
I know my films don't generate any money for the city. If I make a $2,000 film, Houston Film, it's not worth their time to promote my film. Well, but if I could call Alfred, I could call Rick and say, I'm looking for a location. Do you have any? Can you recommend something? And they'll probably help. But they don't. If we don't reach out to them, they don't pay any attention.
Well, yeah, you have to. You kind of have to.
That's not their responsibility.
You kind of have to reach out. The thing is, like when if anybody decides, like a production company from LA or from like Atlanta or somewhere else, if they're filming in Houston, when they come to Houston, they go to the Houston Film Commission too. Just the same way I would go, like what I said about.
They're here to sell the city.
Yeah, exactly. And basically, I might be a producer from LA, and I come to the Houston Film Commission. Like, where can I find this type of location in Houston, or how can I shoot this certain scenes? And the Houston Film Commission makes it happen.
There's a reason they're connected to the Greater Houston Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Right. Yeah.
Out of town filmmakers are visitors. They want to. The Film Commission wants to bring them, make them shoot here, so they bring all that money here.
Exactly, and that's the point. So, like, from I think I'm not 100% sure about this, but they also have links with like hotels and like tourist kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's all about bringing people to Houston and spend money,
Now, if Texas had the film incentives, their job, Alfred and Rick's job, would be so much easier.
But the thing is, not a lot of people are willing to come shoot out here because the incentives just aren't there. Like, you could just go to like Louisiana and get better, incentives, or just go to Atlanta where all the film stuff is happening these days. I feel like Houston could become a film city. I feel like we have what it takes. It's just like it's just if we can have those incentives, like we say, if we can have better incentives or something that, the film, it's business. It's like, why should I come spend my money in Houston when this other city I could go shoot over there and save a lot more money or get like something back? It's you're shopping for the better deal. So we have to get to that point where we're a competitive city.
Yes, Hollywood's creative, but they're also a business.
Right.
If they'll go where they can spend less money and get the same production value.
Right. And exactly. So once we can compete in that aspect, I think it'll be better. Internally too, we kind of the Houston film community has to grow a lot bigger. Where I've worked on a few productions from out of towners from like LA and stuff. There's not they come to Houston. And half of the times they have to bring half their crew because we don't have as much, they're looking for specific things that sometimes we don't have enough of. So they come with their own crew. So it's like, if I'm going to be bringing half my crew in the first place, it's not worth, traveling out there to Houston, paying for the flight for all this crew and cast members to come, from wherever to come film. So, we just got to make it cheaper to make a film here. That's the way we could bring more films out here. It has to be cheaper. I could just come, by myself and be able to hire out, the whole crew from Houston. So
it's very true.
I think they have a clause like that where if you're filming here, you have to hire like a certain percentage of your crew.
No, not just to film here.
Yeah.
If wherever there's incentives,
right.
There are requirements they have like that. But Houston doesn't. If just to film here, you don't have to hire anybody from here. We've seen it happen.
Yeah, true. Which kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's very aggravating when a film comes here and doesn't hire anybody.
Yeah.
Or doesn't hire locals in key positions.
Right.
So, true story. The first film I worked on, I drove 1,500 miles to work for free. I was in college at University of Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin. I drove to San Antonio, Texas to work on this indie film called Lowrider Weekend. It had Jesse Borrego from Blood and Blood Out, Mi Vida Loca, Fame. Recently, what was he just in? Colombiana. He stayed in a lot of, Walking Dead. You guys were talking about that.
Cool.
He's just Walking Dead too. Yeah, he's kind of my mentor. He's the guy who got me into film. He invited me to go work on a movie. I didn't care how much they were going to pay me.
Right.
I drove for 1,500 miles and worked for free. Didn't even have a place to live. I showed up to the set, and the set was this big, like resort hotel in San Antonio. It's not there anymore. And and that was the set. And I ended up hanging out with some actors, and they let me crash in their hotel room. And the director's son comes in the room the next morning, and it turned out I was in his bed, and we just met each other.
You hugged and
I mean, the truth
went to
was,
sleep.
the truth was, hey, you smoke, I smoke, let's smoke. That's what happened.
Yeah.
And then and now he's worked on 5 of my films. The director's son, that was over 20 years ago.
Yeah. So you do.
But
you need a lot of, when you're new, work on everything you can. And pay attention.
At the end of the week,
people.
at the end of the week of working there for free, the director told me. So his name is Efrain Gutierrez. He's the first Mexican American filmmaker. So he was making this film, this comeback film, and so I drove there, and I put in a lot of work, and I didn't feel entitled. At the end of the week, he goes, I seen you working. I want to give you some money. And I said, don't worry about it. Maybe the next one you can pay me. And saying that went so far with him. He taught me so much about the business just because I backed him up to the fullest on that project. And he could have given me money, but you know what? I didn't need the money, and the learning experience I got from him was worth far more than what he could have paid me.
I don't mind working for free, but it depends on the project. Like sometimes I'm trying to work for free. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do it. But then I'm like, send me the script, and then I look at the script, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this for free. Like, I don't know if I want to do this.
I don't do
the
free
script
anymore.
first. It's like but then
free is like if Joe called me, Joe could get a favor for me. There's a couple people that call me, but I'm sorry, like the door is closed over here, man.
Right.
My favors are for people who have proven they can do it.
Exactly.
But just can't get a break.
You gotta have a resume where
Right.
it speaks for itself now. I can't even tell you. When I go out in Houston, I don't even tell you like I'm a filmmaker, because once it gets talked about too much, it's like there's that person with, I got this great idea, but I got no money. I've never done it before, and you're gonna do this for me. And it just gets so old.
Right. Yeah.
No, those are the kind of people I'm talking about. There's no way.
But once you have a portfolio that lives up to expectation, you can get, it's exciting when as a director or a screenwriter, you people read your script and they're excited about it. They want to work on it. It's that's kind of cool.
If that doesn't happen, you shouldn't make the movie. Seriously, man.
Right, but see, that's the thing. A lot of people, they just have the script and
I don't want to name people, but there's people that write that should not be writing.
But see,
like you should go find a writer and seriously. Because you have money doesn't mean people are going to find your shit interesting, or you're going to make it more interesting than what it is.
There was a time when you could get a bunch of people to work for free.
Right.
It's gone.
It's when in the late '90s when I got started,
but then
and I made my first film. We were lucky to have 3 independent films a year in Houston.
Right.
So when I was making Laughing Boy, it was like the talk of the city.
Right.
I could get anything I wanted because we were making a film.
Was that around the time Wes Anderson made Rushmore? Or was it before?
It was, I think, before that.
Was it before? Wow.
Yeah. What year was Rushmore released?
Rushmore was like 96, 97, I want to say.
Then Rushmore was before that, because I was filming in '98.
Oh yeah, no, Rushmore was before.
Yeah.
So that was Wes Anderson's first one.
Yeah. So it was when I say independent, I'm talking micro budgets.
Oh yeah,
so without stars.
It's not the same.
Now
category.
you bump into filmmakers every day.
Yeah. Right.
As it's great for new actors because you can get a set experience very easily.
Yeah,
whereas you struggle 25
almost
years
every
ago.
day in Houston, there's a production going on, like on some small
and
scale.
You got
there's always
3 or 4
going
film races a year.
Yeah.
One thing that tickles me is when I go see short films, I sometimes think to myself, and I keep it to myself. But it's like, do you even know what a movie? You've watched movies, right? Do you even know what they look like?
Right.
Every now and then you see.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Some projects that I would say weren't up to par, but they were still relevant enough or good enough.
Right.
Like there's something to the rawness to it all.
Yeah, true.
But
in order to go to the next finish it good,
level
finishes good or
of
bad.
filmmaking, you have to have good audio, good acting, good casting, or you can't compete. So
because now you can't, especially.
So to go back to this whole point of working for free and doing this and that. I mean, I'm not on the level. Obviously, we have to work for free, but I'll give favors to friends, and whatnot. But to a new filmmaker, I would say you should work for free on your first project or two, and don't care about it. I mean, just to get experience. But you're going to get to a level like Joe and myself, where you don't have the time to work on that kind of stuff. And you
got bills to pay now.
Yeah, you got bills
to 20 years old.
And it's
probably
a business.
don't.
And to go into your first couple films when you haven't done anything and have that attitude, it's not going to be good for you. You should be willing to learn, work for free, or work for a micro budget and just learn. And then, on my first film, I was a production assistant. Then I went all the way to writing, directing, producing. It's a process. So love the process, because it's gonna be painful at times, right?
Yeah, and let me add this, since we want to give advice to new filmmakers.
Oh, so this is that part where
let's address this, because I've seen this mistake.
Finally, we get
when you're a young filmmaker, you're a young actor, and you're on set, and you happen to have the chance to sit down with a professional, especially a Hollywood professional. Let them talk. If they're willing to talk, let them talk and listen. Don't bother them with your ideas. Absorb their experience. I've seen so many filmmakers have the chance to sit down with a known Hollywood person who's willing to share a story or an experience, but the other filmmaker wants to talk and hog the conversation and make it about them. They may not even know they're doing it, but just listen, ears open, mouth shut. If you have that chance to talk to someone, to have a conversation with a Hollywood or an experienced veteran, you'll learn so much just by listening to old stories.
Yeah. Very true.
My advice would be, story is king. Your story is the foundation of your film. I mean, I can endure like crappy audio, not crappy, but like not the best audio or not the best.
You won't give up on the film as fast.
Huh?
You won't give up on the film as
No,
fast.
because once I get into the story, guess what? I'm willing to tune all that other stuff out. I mean, we watch like stuff on standard definition. We watch like some shitty quality stuff. It's about the story. You're telling the story. If the story is good enough, you'll be surprised what you could get away with. So make sure you have a good story in the first place. Because one mistake that I see these days, the technology is very available these days. I see people doing this great stuff, nice special effects, great camera work, but there's no story, and the story sucks. So it's like, what am I watching?
You can have the most expensive camera.
Yeah, and that's the
if
thing.
If you're writing your own script, that's not costing you anything. There's no reason for it to be terrible.
Right. A lot of new filmmakers, they want to get, these beautiful aerial shots because it's so available these days. It's like, I want an aerial shot. Why do you don't even need an aerial shot.
I have yet to do a drone shot.
Exactly.
I don't think I'll ever do a drone shot.
Exactly. Everybody does that these days.
Fucking help make the movie. Drone footage.
If it's used properly, don't use it just because you have.
Don't use it because it's accessible. Use it because you need to.
Make your project. It's not. And how many times now on Facebook do you see this guy? I'm gonna do drone, and that's his video. It's the last video he's done.
So that's my advice. Focus on your story first. That's the foundation, and everything comes after. And what's your advice?
My advice is what I've been saying to everybody. Love it. If you don't love it, don't get into it. And enjoy it. It's a process.
You gotta love it.
You gotta love it, man. I mean, indirectly, I've known Joe since through about 2006 casting. I mean, looking at now, we're in 2018, like the time, having fun, and our projects are more relevant than ever. So enjoy the process. That's my advice.
Yeah, and when you make a film, don't give up on it. I made a film called Lars the Emo Kid. We shot it in 2010, and a lot of stuff happened. Life happens. I found myself in the hospital. The film almost didn't get finished, but you got to stick with it. You owe it to everyone that worked on it with
project.
you.
Yeah.
Stick with it. Lars the Emo Kid, while even 8 years later, it's still relevant because it's a teen comedy, but it deals with suicide and drug use and divorce and guns and violence and bullying in school. Guns. We did cut a scene that was going to have a gun. We just ran out of time. But you don't.
And you know what? Sometimes you got to compromise a couple scenes. My last project, I had to compromise a couple scenes to get the project done. But as we discussed, and that's another piece of advice I'll leave you guys with is finish the project. No matter what, once you start, have it in your mind you're going to finish. Shoot fast, and if you have to, but finish it. There's nothing worse than starting a project and not finishing it.
If you're going to ask, and especially if you're going to ask people to work for free, if you're paying people scale, their day rate, they don't care if you finish it or not, really. or I should say, it doesn't bother them as much if they got a fair rate. But if you're asking people to work for free, and this is what keeps me going on my films, I owe it to them to finish and release and promote that film, try to get it in front of eyes, try to find the audience for it. The actors, the films are several years old now, so the actors have moved on and everyone's moved on, but I still owe it to them to make sure they didn't waste their time.
Here's a weird one. Don't underestimate editing. You find you might have your script and everything, but once you get to the cutting room, you can make you got to start from scratch. Basically, look at it like you're editing a fresh a different movie, like you're starting from scratch. Because even if you didn't get all the shots or all the scenes, there's still a film in there. You just got to edit it out. It's like carving out from a block of wood. There's a film in there. You can make anything from the footage that you shot. Don't look at it like, oh, I didn't get all the footage or I didn't get everything. From whatever you have, there's a film in there. Just make it work. You could edit something out of that.
Yeah.
Very important process.
You can always ADR what you miss in the audio. Get footage. You gotta always get as much footage as you can when you're shooting. Maximize that day, maximize your locations, and be strategic with your shooting, and that's how you get the footage you need.
Better have too much than not have enough.
Yeah. Totally.
Enough of that stuff might get cut out, but just shoot it anyways. If you have the time.
Yeah. So, this is a hard business. You've got to really love it. Be good to people. Networking can be even more important than talent. I hate to say it, but there is a lot of truth to the saying, it's who you know. So don't overlook any networking opportunities and try not to burn any bridges.
Yeah, I'm aspiring too. We're all trying to figure this out together. Hopefully we figure it out and, we get to do what we love because that's fun. You gotta love it to do it, So keep making films.